Bajcetic is possibly an 8 to replace the man I want to talk about in just a second, and that is Thiago, of course, because this is an interesting one, the Thiago stuff, David, because again, pretty much since the season ended, a lot of people have been saying, what if someone came for Thiago? What if there's interest in Thiago? Because final 12 months of his deal, we all know his injury record is far from ideal. We know how big this midfield rebuild is and has already started to be. And today's really the first we're hearing. I know you last night did a report on it, said the interest is growing in Thiago. I think it's Fenerbahce you muted as a possible contender. So where do we stand on this one? I guess the place to start is, what's Liverpool's stance on it as well?
I think they're kind of relaxed about it in the sense that, they're not kicking him out the door or anything like that. And if he did stick around, they'd happily let him see out his deal. What I think you can say concrete, there's not going to be a new deal there. I think, Thiago will get to the end of that deal and leave if he doesn't leave this summer. But for the player himself, I think it's clear that, there's going to be big options for him there this summer. Saudi Arabia is one that's come out today, and, we know the money's being thrown around there in terms of might look an attractive option to him. And I just think, as much as even in the quadruple season where I thought he was phenomenal, I think we saw the best of him. I thought we saw the best of a lot of that squad really in that season. But 2 out of the 3 seasons he's had at Liverpool have been quite disappointing, and he is injury prone. He's not an ideal fit, is he, for what Jurgen Klopp wants from his midfield? And I think it puts a lot of physical pressure on him to play in that way as well, when he's already sort of quite injury prone as well. And he's on massive wages. So you can see why Liverpool would think, if he went this summer, it wouldn't be the worst thing. Like I said, not kicking him out the door, but just thinking in terms of, future-proofing ourselves and just solving that problem in terms of the wages he's on for what value we actually get out of it. Because I know a lot of people are saying the ideal situation is that he stays and Liverpool's squad and midfield options are then big enough to, just pick and choose his games. Mm-hmm. But, for someone who's on 200 grand a week picking his games, that is the real luxury player, isn't it? The real definition of that. So I'm not sure Liverpool would see it in that way, really. And I think, if you could get a Lavia in now and Thiago were to move on, it like I say, it future-proofs you, really. So I think it's just something I could see happening. A lot's got to change in terms of, I think the player's got to really be happy with what he's being offered. Does he want to go to Saudi Arabia? Some players have turned that opportunity down. Does he, does he want to go to Turkey? Can they pay him enough? All these sort of things have got to be solved at the moment. And so it is very much up in the air, but I just think it's one to really keep an eye on, because I think if he suggests he would be willing to move, then I think that's something you'd see Liverpool sort of shake his hand and say, okay, well, it was some of it was really good, some of it was okay, and yeah, we'll leave it at that, really.
Yeah, definitely. It feels like one that could materialise if that interest does become more concrete. Because, like you said, this is the first day or 48 hours, really. We've seen reports of possible interest in Thiago. And as you kind of allude to, it feels to me as if freeing up his wages, freeing up a place in the squad, a non-homegrown place at that as well, plus a little bit of a fee, whatever you got from Fenerbahce or Saudi, feels like Liverpool could potentially use all that money and that space in the market again for something that right now we might not be able to go and get in terms of possibly a defender, for instance. Because I think in an ideal world, we'd go and do it. But with Thiago sitting there, you almost can't go and do it. It's a difficult one, because you mentioned luxury player there, and he is absolutely that. I think he's a genius with a ball at his feet. I love watching him. But at the same time, even me, as probably the biggest Thiago fanboy going, would kind of accept him leaving this summer. You know what I mean?
I think he's like I say, never really been a perfect fit for what Jurgen Klopp wants in his midfield. And as much as, say, he's a better footballer than Gini Wijnaldum in terms of pure ability on the ball, and I absolutely love watching him. Sometimes you just think you'd rather someone in there who could just run about and fill gaps and just set a platform for what's in front of him, because that's when Jurgen Klopp teams, or certainly ones that we've seen at Liverpool, have been at the best. And I think the thing is as well that, Jurgen Klopp and the club as a whole really been accused a lot of lacking ruthlessness in recent years, haven't they? Whereas getting a fee now for Thiago when you don't know what you're going to get out of him next year. Last year wasn't great from him. He is getting older. You're putting more pressure on him in terms of what you're demanding of him as he gets older. I think that would be some ruthlessness now if Liverpool got him off the wage bill and said, thanks very much for everything, but I think it's time for Liverpool to move on. I think that would show that ruthlessness that people have said Liverpool have lacked. So, like I say, that interest has to ramp up to something concrete, and the player has to want to go. But that really could be something that we see happen in the next few weeks, I think.